Greetings to all and welcome to another of our monthly Q&A sessions with Jim McCarty. My name is Jonathan Tong and I'm facilitator for the Seattle Law of One study group. We can be found on the list of study groups at the L&L research page shown on your screen. We do also have a Facebook group and we do meet on Zoom twice a week, Tuesdays from 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific time, Saturdays 8 to 10 a.m. Pacific time. You don't have to live in Seattle or anywhere near Seattle to join our Facebook group or our Zoom sessions. Anyone who's interested and available is welcome to join. Just contact us at seattlelaw1@gmail.com to get on our mailing list. We send out emails once a week to let you know what we're talking about that week, as well as the Zoom link. We do also have a YouTube channel where we keep recordings of our podcast episodes, as well as recordings of previous Q&A sessions with Jim McCarty, Austin Bridges, Gary Bean, and Tricia Bean from the L&L Research Channeling team. Just go to our YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button if you'd like to get notifications when we upload new videos, and contact us at seattlelaw1@gmail.com if you'd like to sit in on any of our Q&A sessions. Otherwise, we are blessed once again to be joined by our good friend Jim McCarty for some informal conversations about the law of one and how to live it in our daily lives. How are you doing today, Jim?
Doing well. As you know, I've been out doing some gardening, a little weeding, a little watering.
Nice. Have you been getting flooding? I believe I heard from Morris and Linda. They've been getting a lot of rain in Louisiana.
No, we haven't here, not this past week. The last week, though, we got 10 inches of rain during the week.
Oh,
So
wow.
I've been having to water some of my flowers this week.
Well, we wish you well and all of our second and first density and third density friends in Louisville and Kentucky. We do actually have quite a few questions, both from folks on the Zoom call as well as folks that were submitted by Seattle Law of One study group members on our Facebook page. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to go straight to the questions. I did have one question of my own that I wanted to ask for starters. This has come up a number of times in conversations recently, and there seem to be differing point of views on it. So Jim, might I ask, in your opinion, would you say that Earth is at present a fourth density positive planet?
Yes, Ross said that during the raw contact, the planet itself was fourth density, and the population of the planet was scattered between the second, third, and fourth density. Some third density people had responded to the increased vibrations of the fourth density by retreating into places of safety, which is basically a second density reaction.
I think that's maybe where some of the differing perspectives come in. Maybe there's differences in how we define fourth density positive. Because I'm well aware, Quo has said many times that Earth is vibrating fully in fourth density. I just wasn't sure if that meant that we are officially a fourth density positive planet, since there are clearly still service to self entities on Earth who are still trying to graduate to fourth density on the service to self path. And there are clearly still third density entities on Earth. And I think I was under the impression that when Earth becomes a fourth density positive planet, there will not be any third density entities for quite a while. So
Right.
I wasn't sure if we're officially fourth density positive planet or just fourth density with a mix of positive, negative folks on the
Fourth
planet.
density positive, as far as I understand what Ross said, and Co has said since then.
Nice. Appreciate it. Raquel, did you have a clarification question?
I did. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Jim, for being here as always. Nice seeing you, like the red. I wanted to know, in follow up to Jonathan's question, I was one of them that believed that this was already a fourth density positive planet. My follow-up question is some of the graduates now, are they learning to veil themselves from the third density population that's here? Is that kind of what's happening? Like the graduates that are going into fourth density, do they now start to understand how to not shield themselves from us being able to see them like the third density population?
Well, I have not gotten any specific information on that from any source, but I would assume that as soon as anybody has been able to walk into the light to the degree that they are able to be a fourth density positive entity, that then one of the things they would be working on is that shielding of themselves so that the later on, when third density is reactivated, that those entities would not be able to see the fourth density entities, because that would be kind of like breaking their free will, letting them know there is something more to their life than what they see around them in the consensus reality.
Okay, thank you. For some reason, that's my understanding. So I'm not sure where I got it from, but that's how I visualized it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Raquel.
Appreciate that. Yeah, both. If you don't mind, there was a somewhat related question, I think, that was submitted to us that I'd like to ask. This is from Todd and Elizabeth, who asked, what densities are in space-time? I know 1 through 3 and maybe 4, but in 5th and 6th density, are they in time-space? I wasn't totally sure what they meant by the question, but if you think you understand the question, Jim, do you want to respond to that?
Well, this is my opinion, because I, again, don't have solid information on this. I believe every density from the 3rd on through the 7th has a space-time and a time-space. The 7th density may not, because that is when they no longer have to look back and participate in the octave of densities. They're becoming more and more one of the creators. So I would say the 3rd through the 6th definitely have space-time, where, like we are, and they have time space, where we will go after we leave our bodies and move back into our social memory complex or into our guides and a higher self and plan another incarnation.
Yeah, much appreciate it. I was kind of reflecting on that myself and thinking, I would think densities 1 through 6 are in space, time, and time space insofar as you can still see them. They're still visible to us as third density entities. And you can still see a planet that is 6th density. You just can't necessarily see the 6th density entities on it, which seem to be invisible to us in time space, starting at 4th or 5th density.
I don't think we in the 3rd density right now can see anything beyond the 3rd density. I don't think any of our scientists or rockets can see anything there, because the vibrations are too high. They can't be calculated in the normal sense of our consensus reality.
Right. Yeah, sounds good. Todd and Elizabeth, I hope that answers your question, and thank you, Jim. Let me go to the questions of chat window. I see Daniel, Neely, Chad, and Elaine up. Daniel, would you like to ask your question first?
Yes, thank you, Jonathan. Hi, Jim.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you. Yeah, as my question is regarding the gatherings. As you know, we recently had our gatherings in Prague and Berlin, and for myself, I was able to attend several gatherings so far, but it have never been so intensive like this time. So it started already in Prague, so that I have completely changed my perception. So, and it was again more intensified in Berlin gathering. So what happened actually, I see things in a different way. But I mean with that, things which are trigger before the shit out of me. So they didn't cause any emotion at this time anymore. And I feel like an observer, and I'm more like aware of the illusion which we are experiencing at the moment. So permanently is in my mind that is just this incarnation. And I heard also this from other participants. And as you may have heard from Gary and Trish and Austin already, that last round at the Berlin Gathering was very emotional. Also, I have never been that emotional as I have experienced before. Now, my question to you now is, have you observed this one with yourself or with other participants in any gatherings that a kind of transformation, I would call it, is kickstarted during the gatherings?
I think that all gatherings that I have been to, most of the homecoming gatherings here, and I was in Prague and Berlin 2019. I think all the gatherings have the ability to cause transformation in each person that is an attendee, because each person brings an open heart with the desire to share more about who they are, to discover more about who they are. And when you do that on a basis of 20 or 30 or 40 or however many attendees you have, it's like the doubling effect. It keeps getting greater and greater every time people gather, because every time they gather, they've got more experience under their belt, shall we say, more to share and more questions. Don said the circle of being keeps getting to places we've never been before. So the more you know, the more there is to know. So when you get people like you and everybody here in this gathering together, there is a chance that there can be transformations of one kind or another for everyone. And I think that's why we have these gatherings. We want to know more about the nature of ourselves, of reality, of the Creator, the world around us, because we are all one. And that is a long journey to discover that we are all one. It does not matter who we look like, what our political stand is, what we think about this or that, we are still one. And when we come to these gatherings, we can open our hearts and our minds to see from a higher point of view that this is what we are doing. This is who we are. We are each other. We are the Creator. And we help each other do that every time, more and more.
So beautiful. Any
Thank you
follow-ups
very
on that, Daniel?
Yeah, just if there's any advice apart from reflection and meditation to transform or to integrate that experience, because it is quite intense for a couple of participants at this time. Do you have any experience? How do you integrate it in your being from your side?
I think a good way to do that is to enter into meditation and to relive the experiences that you felt and to let them be again what they were then. If they are intensified, great. If they're not, okay. Just examine them. Ask the Creator within you to help you see from a higher point of view what all of this has meant that was so emotional, so powerful, so magical. And then wait.
Beautifully said.
Thank you very
so
much.
much. Yeah.
Thank you, Daniel.
Dean, Neely, did you have a question you'd like to ask?
Yes, good morning. Good morning, Jim.
Morning.
Always good to see you, and thank you so much for having endless patience for our never-ending questions that you come here every month to do that. I wanted to add to and echo what Daniel had said. I also feel that every gathering has some sort of like an accumulative effect, like every gathering, it becomes more and more intense, that feeling of transformation. So yeah, thank you all for doing them. My question is with regards to the time that you guys were channeling, were doing the raw contact. I believe that back in the 80s, channeling was not as popular as it is now, and people might have looked at it as the devil's work. And I was just wondering if you guys faced any adversities, and if you did, how did you deal with it? How did you stay true the course?
Well, back in the 80s, when we had the raw contact, there was no internet. There was no way of people really discovering what we were doing. We were pretty much unknown. We self-published our first books, The Law of One, and those 8.5 by 11 pure blue with gold lettering on them. And a few people, would order those now and then. We had places where people could order our books, but there weren't a whole lot of orders. So basically, we didn't have that kind of a problem. If there had been an internet, I imagine a lot of people would have thought we were crazy or negative. But fortunately, we didn't have that problem.
I'm so happy you didn't. Thank you.
Thank you, Neely. Good to see you.
Great question. Thank you. Jim, if you don't mind, as long as we're talking about the raw contact, there was a question that was submitted to us on our Facebook group that I wanted to ask. This is actually a couple questions, which I'm guessing might be fairly quick and easy for you to answer. And these are from Brady. who asks, I've always wondered and don't recall them ever talking about it, but when they were channeling Ra, did they ever experiment with EMF detectors or any other devices like photography to detect energy shifts in the room? And if Jim ever noticed or felt differently while they were channeling, seems like something Dawn would have done.
Well, I'll make that simple. No. We never tried to measure any kind of energies in the room. I was never really aware of any different kinds of energies. What I was doing the whole time that Carla was channeling Ra was sending her love and light through her violet ray chakra down through all of the rest of the chakras, back out the red, just going back and forth, back and forth. So if there was anything else going on, I might not have noticed it.
Makes sense. I was guessing that was the case. Did have a second question from him, which I'm guessing has a similar answer. Brady asks, does Jim remember while they were channeling Ra if they were in solar minimum or solar maximum during those years of channeling? Just thinking that the sun cycle might have helped enhance the output. Am I guessing you were not particularly paying attention to solar activity during the Ra contact?
No, not at all. No, what we were paying attention to was number one, that Don was not out flying somewhere for Eastern Airlines. So we had to, have their sessions when he was there. And number two, what Carla's condition was, whether she, was up for another session. We didn't do that very well during the first year where we had 75 sessions. We kind of went overboard. But after that, Ross suggested that Carla's will to be of service and have a session whenever it was possible, no matter how she felt, was not a good idea. That would be martyring herself and could end the contact prematurely. So after they mentioned that to us, we were given the responsibility and the joy of determining when a session would be possible by the way that we felt Carla was feeling, the vibrations that she had, because she was, I don't know how to describe this. She was open. She was clear. She was able to be perceived. And so we could tell whether it was a good time or not.
Wow, fascinating. Thank you. Raquel, did you have a follow-up question?
I did. So you said that you were sending Carla love and light vibrations during the time she was channeling. How difficult was that for you? Because, personally, sometimes it's hard holding even my visualizations or even a lot of us in meditation, just holding, even sending love and light to Gaia or just anyone in particular. How difficult was that for you, or was it an easy task?
Actually, I didn't feel it was difficult at all. I mean, I think the fact that it was the raw contact had a certain vibration about it that was easy to tune into for me. I don't know why. I don't think I meditate as well these days as I did then. So the sending of the love and light and through her chakras was just really easy, and it was fun too. I mean, I knew that I was helping, and
Wow.
I wanted to do everything I could to help the raw contact.
Yeah, I know you felt that way and it came through. And that's why I wanted to know what the process was like for you, because we see the pictures of you sitting there just in meditation. And it was just such an awesome part for you to participate in that way. And we just thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Raquel. I appreciate it.
That's interesting to hear you say that you don't feel you meditate as well now as you did 40 years ago when that was happening. Is it because of the combined energy of the three of you together, do you think, or the nature of the rock contact?
I think it might have been the combined energy. My meditations now are okay, but I'm not sure why. Sometimes I have a more difficulty remaining in a one-pointed focus. But I don't let that bother me. When I lose the focus, I just bring myself back.
Nice. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. If you don't mind, that reminds me of another question that was submitted to us through our Facebook group, and that was from David about meditation. David says, "Hi, Jim. Thank you for being in service once again. I have a question regarding the use of the pyramid in spiritual work such as meditation and reading Confederation material. I use a small pyramid made of obsidian quartz on my forehead, right about my third eye when doing this work. The base of the pyramid is touching the third eye. I also listen to theta waves while doing this. Do you have any experience using the pyramid in meditation and other spiritual work? I remember you building a pyramid to sit in while the channelings of Ra was going on. Do you have more experiences?
Well, in the past, I have used a pyramid in a couple of different ways. One was what Ross suggested, putting it under my pillow just before I get out of bed in the morning. Um, and I noticed that seemed to give me a better use of my vocabulary for some reason. Uh, it was also supposed to increase sexual energies, but I never felt that. And nowadays, I really don't use the pyramid in that way. A couple of years ago, I had been using the pyramid, and I built a small one. It was 6 feet on a side. And I noticed that when I used it, that it was easier to maintain the one point of focus. And that lasted for a while, but maybe I should try it again.
Am I understanding correctly that the pyramid sort of acts as a funnel? So it would be receiving intelligent energy up from Earth and then funneling it through the point into some spiral that would pass through your head through your third eye? Is that how it works?
That's basically it. Right.
So does that mean putting the pyramid on your forehead means it would be basically taking the energy that's in your third eye and funneling that
Now
outward?
that I've never heard of before. I have no idea what it would do to put a pyramid on your forehead, a little one.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Well, there you go, David. Hope that is helpful to you. Chad, you have been waiting very patiently to ask a question. Would you like to go ahead and ask?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, hi Jim. Might have a wild one here for you.
Okay.
But so yeah, I'm about 45 years old. But always been had some contact experiences as a kid, growing up in the country out there in North Dakota, and always um been really spiritual. But about a year ago, I really dedicated my life to spirituality. Had really intense synchronicities with the number 11, which turned into about the number 33 last year. And I dove around with Law of One like probably about 10 years ago. But I was talking about when people asked me what I always thought of the 11s, I always told people I just thought they meant we're all one. And so I always kind of like had that attitude. And I came across Law of One and I was like, oh, we're all one. I didn't really read much more into it than that. I'm like, yeah, I resonate with this and kind of gone on with my life. But basically, I kind of started praying, and I listened to near-death experience stories a lot. And basically, I was praying, and I wanted to know what my mission was in life, and I asked for help from my soul guides, stuff like that. Started working in a hospital. I'm really into Tai Chi, Qigong, standing meditation, stuff like that. But day after my birthday, a blue orb showed up upside my house. Stayed out there for 2 weeks. It would just shoot up into outer space, like right before sunset. That was 2 weeks straight, just like clockwork. Blue, white orb. I have amazing pictures of this, similar to the Chris Bledsoe pic, but honestly way better. Um, it was really close. And then 2 weeks, all of a sudden these diamond-shaped tetrahedron crafts just started showing up at nighttime, just really intense. Blinking lights, about four of them, red, white, green are the ones you can see. If you slow down the video, you can see purple, blue, basically the seven chakra colors is kind of what I've come up with. But something happened one night where we kind of synced up really hard, and I basically for a few months I kind of felt like I went through like a mild psychosis, maybe like a mild psychedelic trip. Really happy. I had to go to work during all of this, but it was crazy. So basically, they're there every night, 10 months straight. During the daytime, they're out there, look like tic tac shape, airplanes, all kinds of stuff.
What's your
Um,
question, Todd,
my
if I may
question
ask?
is, I ask these things if I'm a wanderer, and I'm asking Jim. I was just trying to give him a backstory here of what was going on, but basically, I'm wondering. I think this is the Confederation, or my soul complex group, or something like that. But yeah, I'm asking what he thinks of all this and if he thinks that could be a confederation or what they would be there for every single night. And I've seen pictures on Reddit and stuff of the similar stuff. So something's going on out there. But yeah, that's my question and my story. And I'm also making pyramid shaped gummies. And so I thought it might be a good, yeah, a compostable packaging. I donate profit to the to
That's
plant
good. Todd,
trees.
I'm going
And
to go ahead,
so
cut you off there, and
yeah,
let Jim respond to your
where we're
question.
at. Thank you.
Okay, well, I have heard of these types of experiences from a few other folks, and I really don't know exactly what they are. I'll give you my opinion. I think you're probably being contacted by your guides, your higher self, or perhaps members of your social memory complex as a wanderer. And they're doing it in some way that is hopefully going to get your attention and make you ask more questions about your life, not just what they mean by showing up and what their colors mean, but just what you feel about it. Use your intuition. Uh, this is something I think you have pre-incarnatively planned. Ross said there are no accidents, there are surprises. And I think you have some surprises here, and they're very good ones. So I think just meditate on it. Get the feeling for what you might do in response. You've already done something in response to be of service to others. So how can you use these experiences, these entities, these orbs, to know about more about yourself, more about how to be of service to others? And I think you're having a great experience, but that's all just my opinion.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm doing. Yeah, thank you.
Keep on doing what you're doing.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, it's wild. Thanks.
It's a great question, Chad. Thank you. And thanks
Yeah,
for
thank you.
sharing the backstory as well.
Yeah.
Elaine, did you have a question you wanted to ask? Might have
Yeah.
had a couple.
Yes, I did have a couple, but I'll just ask this one. Hi Jim, thank you
That's my pen
again.
pal.
Great. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Very well, thank you so much. So, I'll read my question. Since second density pets can sometimes make the transition to third density through the unconditional love and bonding with their human companions, I wonder whether you think trees might require a similar kind of loving relationship in order to harvest a third density? And if so, do you feel that your many decades of loving stewardship and care for the plants and trees on your property might be helping them in their evolutionary journey?
Well, again, I'll give you my opinion because I don't know. I think it is very possible. We know from the raw contact that there are trees on another planet close to the Sirius galaxy that did come to planet Earth, and they were third density beings, and they had their own spaceships. So
Mhm.
not impossible the trees could do that. So I would hope that all the trees on my property and anybody's property could be invested by the love we give them.
Yeah.
If they happen to need watering, or if we want to give them a big hug, or just send them
Yeah.
love, telepathically, anything like that would help. And I think it's possible. It's everything is possible. So,
Yeah.
how about your trees? Do you have any trees?
Oh, yes. We live right next to a park that's filled with redwood trees, and
Oh,
I
redwood.
I love walking through there, and I I actually feel that the trees are way more wise and together than we are. So they probably don't need our help, but I love that concept because I really feel their energy when I'm there, and I also um, lean against them. I do hug them. Couple of times when I wasn't feeling well. There are a couple of trees on my walk that I would lean up against and kind of meditate with them, and I could truly feel their energy. And I did feel an actual physical lessening of pain.
All right.
So I just I just feel very connected to trees, and I just love the concept that it's reciprocal. relationship.
Right. Well, when Carla was 3 years old and it was raining outside, I don't know why when it was raining, she'd take all her clothes off, run outside and hug a tree.
I love it. Yeah, yeah,
Thank
makes
you.
sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
I seem to remember Native American spiritual teachers suggesting, yeah, going sitting under a tree, being near a tree, help one feel rooted when one is having a difficult time. Yeah, it certainly makes sense. I think Elaine had the last questions I was seeing in the chat window. If I missed somebody's question there, please, if you don't mind, go ahead, put it back there so that I can see it. Otherwise, I do have a few questions that were submitted to us through our Seattle Law 1 Facebook group that I'd like to go to. This one, I'm going to guess would be another one that you don't know the answer to, Jim, but I'll just go ahead and ask it since it was sent. Brian wants to know if you think Don was on the autistic spectrum.
I've had other people ask that question, and I don't think he was. I don't know. I mean, I know that there's been new information that's come out, the telepathic letters that autistic children or entities are here in a way that is not really understood by our normal reality. They are able to telepathically communicate with each other. They're able to read their mother's minds or anybody's mind around them. So I think that autism is something that maybe has been looked down upon in the past that should be looked at squarely. And, as far as Don being autistic, I have no idea. I mean, I don't know if you ever read my mind. You never told me if you did.
Would he tell you if he did? Well, thank you for answering. And Brian, I hope that answers your question sufficiently. Did have another question from our friend Claudel, who asked, can Jim talk about any profound moments of doubt he, Carla, or Don had, and how did they discuss or manage to get past it? Even if Don and Carla had been at it for a while, and he, Jim, was already living an isolated life, I believe at some point one of them had to pause for or to reflect what in the world they were doing. Any moments of doubt?
Well, of course, toward the end of the raw contact, the last couple of years of Don's life, there were some doubts about what was going on in his mind. Because when we went down to Georgia, we wanted to move closer to Atlanta, where he was based as a Eastern Airlines pilot. And we went down to find a place that he could get to his job easier rather than having to take an hour and a half to fly there from Louisville. So we found a place that was perfect. And it was just 3 miles from the airport. So when we got back to our Waterson Trail home where we had our raw contact, a huge hawk flew down just as we got in our home, and we turned around and looked outside and saw this huge hawk. In the past, every time we saw a hawk, that meant continue doing what you're doing. It was a very positive sign. But that was the time when Don saw it in another light. He said, he kept asking Rob about, well, now, because I saw this hawk, it tells me that we're probably not on the right path. And could you tell me if that's true? And Ross said, we cannot infringe on your free will. But later on in that same session, they said, any place that you find is acceptable to those of Ra. And he did not see that, even if it was said clearly. Actually, I think it was the next session when that was said. So that was when we had the difficulty with Don beginning to go into a decline mentally and emotionally. In the very last session, it says that he was liable to become a mentally, emotionally dysfunctional. Ra told it beforehand, especially because of that deleterious energy exchange that he and Carla had in the home that we eventually bought, which was on the north side of Atlanta. And it took an hour and a half to drive there because of the traffic in Atlanta. So during that time, it was obvious that things were not going well. And Carla then said to Don, well, why don't I see you're really worried. Why don't you let me be the strong one and you be like me, small and foolish? And unwittingly, Don didn't have any idea that that was possible to happen. So there was a transfer of energy that was very, very deleterious. He even went further into this way of seeing the world as very difficult and challenging and harder every day. So that was something we never resolved. When we moved here to where I am now, he was here for 7 months, and every time he got up out of bed in the morning, he'd go into Carla's bedroom and say, "This is the worst day yet." And then he would go through this litany of how bad it was. So eventually, as you all know, he took his own life. But we've always thought that there was another finger on the trigger. Our negative friend was looking for every way possible to take him out of, stop the raw contact. So, but as I've mentioned before, we feel that he reincarnated as the son of Ron Clay, who was the best man at Carlos and my wedding, and Sonia Clay, his wife, was the matron of honor. They felt they had a child that was Don. And we have met Kenneth Clay, and he has a sweet, sweet heart. Don closed his heart when he was 26 years old. He said he didn't want to be part of the ups and downs, the highs and the lows. He just wanted to be an observer. And basically that was closing his heart. So Kenneth has got a big heart. He's also 6'5", just like Don was. And when we mentioned to him that we thought he might be Don, he says, yeah, whatever. He's spiritually oriented, but he doesn't really think that he's a reincarnation of Don Elkins. But we do.
Yeah, I appreciate your sharing that. And I did also want to remind our viewers that you wrote very long, eloquent, heartfelt reflections, meditations on Don's passing. How many years after the event was
If
that?
you Google the 34th anniversary of the passing of Don Elkins, you get everything I've said here magnified.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do remember you're saying that you did get messages afterwards, either from Don or elsewhere, that all was well and that it would make sense after he left this incarnation.
3 days after Don passed into larger life, Carl and I were in what is now the office. Then it was a living room, and we had just made love in front of the fireplace. And she had a waking vision where she saw Don. And Don said, "It's amazing what I missed," because he was celibate. He said, "I can't believe what I missed all my life."
I haven't heard this story yet.
And then he said, "You're not going to believe this, but my passing was meant to be. And you won't know this until you too go through death's door." And now Carla has been through death's door, and I still don't know exactly how it was meant to be.
Yeah, I know Quo has said that every part of this, of each person's incarnation, has been very carefully planned with their higher self, including the means of passing. So as tragic as it may seem to us, apparently it would be something that was pre-incarnatively planned, would you say?
I think anything is possible to be pre-incarnatively planned. One of the basic things of the way we grow in the third density is using catalysts, difficult catalysts that is hard to process, because catalyst requires us to change, and change is hard. So once we use that catalyst, we see what caused the catalyst in our meditations, and we re-experience it again. Then we vision the opposite. We let it get just as big as the first thing that caused it. And then we accept ourselves for having both of those means of ways of knowing ourselves, knowing the creator. And if we keep doing that, we become the creator, a 360-degree being. We're the good guy, the bad guy, the poet, the visionary, the dancer. We're everything. We are the creator. So if we keep using our catalyst, And we can pre-incarnatively program difficult catalysts. I visit a friend of mine once a month in Southern Indiana. She's had 2 strokes. Now she has C. diff. Now she has dementia. And somehow she is learning from that. And I have no idea how. But I know there are no mistakes. And there are thousands, millions of people around the world that have the same kind of problems. And yet we can all grow from them. That's what we're here to do, to grow into more and more of the creator, to see love in each other, to see the creator in each other. That is our life's mission. And it's not an easy one, but we chose it.
Yeah, indeed. The thought has crossed my mind more than a few times, and I was reminded again when you mentioned the part about Don closing his heart, that if Don was a fifth density wanderer, shall we say, and had closed his heart, and part of his mission was to balance energies of love and wisdom, I wonder if his passing really had to do with his wanting to learn the meaning of being willing to sacrifice your life for someone you love, since, as I understand it, that was kind of his motivation. He wanted to protect Carla, and
Right.
he was willing to put his own life on the line in order to save hers. As an act of love, one could say sacrifice. Do you think there's any possible truth, meaning to that?
I think that that's very possible. In fact, that's what Carla always believed for the rest of her life, that he'd sacrifice his life to save hers, because she was the focus of our negative friend. She had so many things wrong with her body, with rheumatoid arthritis and the pain from it, which was pre-incarnatively chosen. But even pre-incarnatively chosen things that happen to us can be used by our negative friend.
Right, right. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. Neely, I think I saw your hand up a little while ago. Did you have a follow-up question you wanted to ask?
Yeah, I was wondering, Jim, if you ever had any visitations or messages from Carla after she passed into greater life.
Yeah. When I used to work with dreams a lot, and after Carla passed in the larger life, the next year I had 100 dreams with her. Some of them had Don as well. And she gave me a lot of messages that were very inspirational, some of which I still use today to not just remember her, but as part of my spiritual journey.
Yeah, such a beautiful thing, and appreciate it. You have mentioned those a couple times, I think, in previous Q&A sessions, and it's a great inspiration for all of us. Jim, I think I have a couple more questions I wanted to ask, and then maybe we'll wrap things up. If anybody here on the Zoom call had a last question they wanted to ask, now might be a good time. Otherwise, I think we're going to be wrapping things up fairly soon. I did have one question that, again, I think might be a short answer. And this is from Shelley, who says, I know the exercise of fire has to do with healing. What is the exercise of wind? It's just mentioned in passing, remember the exercise of wind, wondering what that is, how it's performed, etc. Any comments on that?
Well, the exercise of wind is part of what is known as the private healing material. Ra asked us to keep it secret and to not give it to anybody unless we felt they were most worthy. So what we have done in the years, while Carla was here and then since she's been gone, is when somebody asks about those exercises, we ask them to study sessions 4, 5, and 6 for 6 months, and then they enter into a dialogue with me so I can ask questions about how they see healing occurring. And and after I've been through all of that process with everybody, they've always gotten the private healing material. So the exercise of wind is part of that material, and basically just a little summary: you become the wind, and learn what the wind can teach.
Thank you. Hope that answers your question, Shelley. I have a last question from Corey, who says, I'm working on chakra balancing. Can you tell me how one can maintain red ray balance if in position of forced celibacy, parentheses 20 years, due to spouse's medical problems?
Well, the red ray is sexual reproduction. It's also the love light or the prana of the creator. And that is something I think that could be worked with in a balancing exercise. I think if you're not able to have sexual relations for whatever reason, you can use your imagination to go through that experience that you probably had at some point and reproduce it. And in the balancing of it, then see the opposite, which is what you're experiencing, the lack of ability to do that, and accept both as part of a way that you can know more about yourself and the creator. So that would be my best answer.
Sounds good. Yeah, and I guess I'm maybe push a little bit farther and say if someone is not able to have sex with a spouse or relative, they can still have orgasms other ways, shall we say, in order to release that energy. And could that perhaps be part of that balancing?
That could be, sure.
There you go. I hope that helps, Corey. I believe that was the last question I saw from our Facebook group. If I'm missing one, it will be at the top of the list for next time. And I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat window. I do see Raquel has a follow-up question. We do have a little bit of time. If anybody had a last question that they really did want to ask, then go for it. Otherwise, we do have a pop quiz. Raquel, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, this is a kind of two-part follow-up. One from the last question. Because they're not able to, or they're not releasing that red ray energy, would that become a blockage then, Jim, do you think? And do they need to start working on that blockage to kind of, you know, let the energy flow up again?
Well, I'm not really sure. I think that they could probably do it through visualization to try to remove the blockage.
Yeah.
But that would be the best answer I could give you. I really don't know.
Okay. And then my other follow-up was when you were discussing Don and Carla and his passing. Thank you for sharing that. It was a beautiful story. Reflecting on it and you saying that Clay possibly being the reincarnation of Don, and also Carla seeing him and saying, what he missed, especially after you guys had that wonderful lovemaking session. I think him having the open heart in this lifetime and you saying you don't understand why he left, my reflection as of right now is that when he passed through the larger life, he was able to see clearly because you have more wisdom and understanding then. And then when he planned this lifetime, he knew he was coming back in here to live freely, open-heartedly as the creator, possibly not knowing yet, but there's always a process of coming conscious of that. And that now his heart is open. Before it was closed, and I'm assuming he wants to have so many different experiences that he never had before. And you saying that his heart is open, that's a big step towards him achieving that already, don't you think?
Yeah, for sure.
Indeed. Yeah, I do remember Quo has said many times that pretty much all wanderers who chose to incarnate at this time came here to balance energies of love and wisdom, and in some cases, power. And it's unique for each person how they do that. It's a beautiful adventure, for sure. Elaine, do I remember right? Did you have a second question that you wanted to ask? I think we got time for one last question if you want.
I would love to ask it. Yes, thank you so much. So, and it relates to the several questions prior about how you were saying when you guys were doing the raw contact, there was no internet, so no one really knew what you guys were doing, and so you didn't have anything to kind of compare it to. However, I've read that you guys knew Jane Roberts, who channeled Seth. And Seth, when I was 15, I was sent a copy of this Seth Speaks, and that was my first introduction to kind of spiritual seeking. I had an awakening with those books. So I'm wondering if you guys kind of commiserated with Jane about this experience you were having, she with Seth and you guys with the raw contact, or not.
I first became aware of Jane Roberts when I read her book, Seth Speaks, in 1972, when I was living on the land in Kentucky. And so I wrote her a letter, handwritten letter with a postage stamp on it. And I told her how much I appreciated what she had to say. And she wrote me back a letter. And so during the raw contact, after we had our first 10 sessions, I sent her copies of those sessions to see if she could suggest a publisher. And so he suggested the Donning Company, which had Whitford Press. And so that was how we got our first books published, was thanks to Jane Roberts.
Okay. But you guys didn't talk about these experiences that you
Oh,
were having, because back then, as you've said, it was, who knew what this was, what's going on. So okay, that's
yeah. Well,
interesting.
we wrote letters. That was a way of
Yeah,
communicating.
right.
Like I didn't have a phone when I was living on the land. I didn't have any
Oh,
power.
okay. Right. Okay. Thank you.
Back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I lived when I was a teenager, I grew up an hour away from where they were in Elmira, New York. And
Wow.
and when I read Seth Speaks, I brought it to my father and asked him, could you put, and I was like 14, something like that. And I was like, I want to, will you take me to Elmira? And I want to meet this woman, Jane Roberts, and go to one of these sessions. And he was like, what? What is this? No, I'm not taking you. So
Yeah.
I really wanted to go and meet her and be in the room with
Yeah.
Seth.
Well, I was amazed. That was the first channel material I ever knew about.
Yeah. hmm You create your own
Same for
reality.
many others. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for the
Thank
question,
you.
Elaine. I
Thanks,
think
Jim.
Adam had a follow-up question. Adam?
Thank you, Jim. I was just curious. I thought you moved in when the raw contact started. So the first few sessions, you were still living on the land out there and driving out there when you met up for
No,
raw sessions, or no?
no. I drove up to Louisville for a year before the raw contact started, when Don and Carla lived at 2120 Douglas Boulevard in apartment number 3. And so I got to know them then, and I was very impressed with the channeling. But when they invited me to join them, I was still living on the land, but I had already been listening or reading channelings from the Cosmic Awareness Communications by Paul Shockley out in Oregon. So I drove out to Oregon to be a part of their group. And I stayed there for about 2 months. And I had an experience where, well, I was offered a lot of money by a fellow at the Aquarian Church of Universal Service. He offered me $100,000 to manage the mining of diatomaceous earth in the United States. He had a company in Canada. So that was kind of confusing to me because I didn't have anything against money, but I thought it would take me off my spiritual path. So I was in this little trailer. It's kind of rusted. I call it Tootsie Roll. And I told the folks at the Winsong School of Awareness, where Paul Shockley and the rest of the gang there homeschool their kids. I said, I'm going to take the weekend out to meditate, see what I should do. So about 30 seconds into the meditation, I got this message, return to Louisville, join Don and Carla. So I did. They gave me a little chocolate bar Siamese kitty. And so I trained it to use the litter box. So I had to use the litter box. I had it in the passenger side. I put it on the floor. And I got back to Louisville at the Waterston Trail House where we got contact. And I gave the little kitty to Don, and he held it in his hand and he said, "Beautiful, another cat." And 3 weeks later, the raw contact began.
Wow. That's great. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you for the questions. As always, thank you for everyone on the Zoom call who asked wonderful questions. Thank you for folks on the study group who submitted questions. It has been one wonderful gathering, and we, of course, as you know, Jim, have one more item of business to take care of, and that is your pop quiz. Are you ready for a very special pop quiz today?
No.
Neither am I. But pop quiz, of course, is something that we like to
Bring it
do
on.
just to kind of end our time on a fun note and maybe look for law of one connections in pop culture, or in this case, in history. Since today is August 2nd, and in a few days, it will be 80 days since the days when the atom bombs were dropped on Hiroshima, August 6th, and Nagasaki, August 9th. The only two times that nuclear weapons have been used in modern human history, to our knowledge. It seems worth having a pop quiz on the subject. I found an interesting passage the other day from our good friend Latweed that I wanted to share with you. This was from August 10th, 1986, and Latweed said, "We assume that the first level of interest in the question concerns possible physical effects that may have been noted upon this planetary sphere when the planet known to you as Maldek was, shall we say, destroyed by the use of nuclear and crystal-powered weapons of this population. The physical influence upon this particular sphere may be noted by geologists or perhaps archaeologists who are able to correlate various levels of strata of the Earth's composition in its surface. The most notable influence of the destruction of the planet known as Maldek upon your own planet was that after the population of the planet known as Maldek had recovered consciousness of their very being, there having been the melding of consciousness into what has been called a knot of fear following the destruction of their planetary sphere, these entities then found the need to take up residence upon your third density planet in forms which were not normally used or available to third density intelligence. I believe this was referred to as Bigfoot in other sessions." Latweed goes on to say, "Throughout succeeding eons of your time and planetary experience, these entities formerly of Maldek have been able to move into your more normal third density physical vehicle in order to continue their third density experience and to more specifically achieve a balancing action within their own consciousness that they have found necessary as a result of their actions upon their home planet, which resulted in its destruction. Thus, these entities have found the need to reproduce the circumstances upon which upon their home planet resulted in its destruction in order that the balancing action may be achieved and the harmonious resolution of these energies set in motion long ages ago might find a more harmonious result." I just saw this passage for the first time a couple of days ago, and it's that last part in the last paragraph that really caught my attention. These entities have found the need to reproduce the circumstances which upon their home planet resulted in its destruction in order that the balancing action may be achieved. I just thought, wow, that explains so much of what I'm seeing happening in the world where, wow, it really seems we are like on a collision course with destruction of the planet. And now it's like, oh, well, okay, if that's why it is, that's really fascinating and I guess good in a way. Do you have any thoughts about that, Jim?
No, I've always thought that that was what was going on, that the people that had partaken in the destruction of Maldek wanted to try to make reparations and to go in a different direction, and that hopefully they were able to do that.
Yeah, and I knew that as well. I think it was just the part about needing to reproduce the circumstances that kind of caught my attention that I hadn't really thought of before. It means this planet needs to be brought to the brink of destruction in order for them to have another chance to make better choices this time around. It's like, wow, that's
In
really something.
6512, Ross says something to the effect, Could your planet polarize positively in one fine, strong moment of inspiration? Yes, my friends, it is ever possible, but it is not probable. And I've always thought that maybe coming up to the brink of destruction and maybe one bomb drops somewhere and everybody would say, we can't have it. Let's all get together and let's go in the positive direction. That's just my own thought over the years.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And I think Quo has said many times that the future is mazed by all eyes that look upon it, and each of us has the power to make different decisions that can make a difference, to choose love and forgiveness rather than fear and anger. I think each of us has the ability to influence that. So, yeah, inspirational, I think.
What was the question here that for the
What's the question? Well, that was the lead up to the question. The pop quiz is actually on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And since everyone associates those two places with the atom bombs and the destruction of those cities, I thought, let's take a different look at it. Let's learn about the beautiful beauty of those cities and things that don't have anything to do with atomic bombs. So I'm going to ask you 3 multiple choice questions about Hiroshima and Nagasaki. See how many you can answer correctly. As always, points don't matter. If you learn something new about these beautiful places, you won. Your first question. This is where they are on the map, in case anyone was wondering. Question 1, what is the official flower of the city of Hiroshima? Is it A, chrysanthemum, B, marigold, or C, oleander?
Well, I love marigolds. I'm going to say marigold.
Marigold is a great guess. Correct answer is oleander.
Oh,
Oleander, as it turns out, was the first flower that came back after the bombing, so it is
really?
very
Yeah.
special.
Looks like a big bush. It's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. Do they grow in the United States? I'm not familiar with
I've
this.
never heard of oleander before.
I have several oleander bushes here. They grow like weeds in California.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. We have white oleander right out my window.
oh,
And
that's
Which
they're
would
good.
they're very hardy, drought resistant, and so it kind of makes sense that that would be one of the first plants that would come up after a
Yeah.
destruction like that.
beautiful.
Atomic
Thank you.
Hmm.
Learn something new. How about your next question? Hiroshima is known for its beloved baseball team. The Hiroshima what? Is it the Hiroshima Carp, the Hiroshima Cranes, or the Hiroshima Cardinals?
I used to go fishing for carp when I was a kid, but I'm going to go with Cardinals because I'm a Louisville Cardinal fan. Well, I was.
Oh, nice, nice. The correct answer, interestingly enough, is the carp. Carp aren't very special in Japan. They are the koi that are often part of Japanese gardens, and carp kites are often flown around people's houses. They are revered for their symbolic meaning of strength, perseverance, and good fortune. The symbolism stems from the legend about a carp transforming into a dragon after successfully swimming upstream and over a waterfall, a feat that embodies overcoming adversity. So
Wow.
it's appropriate for Hiroshima. I have no idea what their mascot is. That does not look the slightest bit like a carp.
Like a carp.
I don't even pay attention to American baseball, much less Japanese baseball. But I do know that somebody became the first Japanese player, position player, to be inducted into the Major League Hall of Fame this week. Do you know about that, Jim? Do you know who that was?
Shohei Ohtani. He's an extremely good pitcher, one of the best ever, an extremely good hitter, one of the best ever. Usually pitchers aren't that good at hitting.
Indeed. Yeah, indeed. The correct answer, in fact, is Ichiro Suzuki, who played for the Mariners starting in 2001. Yeah, phenomenal player. He is only one of 33 players to have more than 3,000 hits. And his number was 51. He played right field. And Seattle fans used to call right field Area 51 because apparently he made a lot of hits and a lot of home runs disappear, which is how he won 10 Gold Glove Awards as well.
If he ever caught a UFO in his glove.
If anybody could, he would. Yeah, beautiful player. Yeah, I really enjoyed watching him as a non-baseball fan. Are you ready for your last question?
Yep.
Nagasaki is known for its what? Is it A, hot springs, B, cherry trees, or C, green tea?
Green tea.
Cherry trees is a good guess.
No,
Oh, C?
yeah, green tea.
Green tea is a good guess. Unfortunately, the correct answer is A, hot springs. Apparently, since Japan is like on the ring of fire and very geologically active zone. Yeah, apparently beautiful hot springs, and you can take a nice soak in beautiful waters and enjoy the view. And it would be a great place to visit. Well, this time, my friend, you were 0-3, but I believe your career-long pop quiz score is at least 300. So by major league standards, you're doing great. Yeah.
Well, I did better that in high school.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Was baseball your favorite sport? Because you played track also, right?
Oh yeah, baseball's my favorite sport for sure. We won the state championship when I was 16 years old.
That's right. And your coach, very special person, right?
Monty Kiffin. He was inducted in the NFL Hall of Fame in 2017. His Tampa Bay Buccaneers won the Super Bowl in 2002.
Wow. So cool. So beautiful. Yeah, I remember you got to go back there to participate.
A year ago now. A year ago today.
Yeah. Oh, it's so wonderful. As always, thank you for being here and sharing your time and energy and your love and wisdom with us. Did you have any last thoughts, reflections wanted to share before we say goodbye?
Well, this has been one of the most inspiring, beautiful, joyful, funny times together with all of you. I thank you for all of your questions and the open hearts that ask them. You are just part of my spiritual family, and I cannot live without you. I look forward to seeing you every first Saturday of the month. And I hope the rest of your day goes very well. Use what we learned here today together as a foundation for a beautiful day, a sunny day, a day where the Creator's love and light flows into your heart, through it, and to everyone around you.
Indeed.
I love you all.
We can feel the love radiating from you, my friend, and love you back in return. Thank you so much for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. To all our friends at L&L Research, thank you for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. To all who joined us on this Zoom call, thank you for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. And to you who are watching this on video in the near or distant future, thank you for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. We're sending you our love light through time, space, and we are receiving yours. Until next time, in the love and light of the one infinite creator. Adonai. Namaste.